Right. So the initial amount of the loan is 150,000. Now the bank says that if for 10 years you pay me 1700 every month, then you will have covered the loan. That's the assumption, right?
Mhm.
I mean, not the assumption, that's what that's what they've told us. So if you pay me $1,700 every single month, there's 12 months in a year, for 10 years, then your debt will be completely paid off. Okay. Now let's see how much I'll have to pay to cover off this loan that I've taken. 1,700 times 120. That is 204,000. So if I pay the bank $204,000 over the course of the next 10 years, I will have end up I will have ended up paying the whole loan back, including the interest that they keep charging me every month. Okay. However, the question is, how much interest did I pay? See, I owed them 150,000 anyway, but I had to pay, of course, some extra because the bank charges interest. So the interest part, only the interest part, would be the difference between how much I paid them ultimately and what I actually took from them. You see what I mean?
Oh, so is it that the 1,700 contains the interest as well?
So no, that's just me giving them a certain amount that I can afford to give, basically. I could have given them 1,000, but then it would take me 15 years to pay back. I could
Mhm.
have given them $100 a month, and then it would take me my whole life and my son's life to pay them back. So that's not very, advisable. But the
Mhm.
point is, how much you pay them will decide how long it will take for you to pay them back ultimately. Because the less you pay them, the more money the more breaks you'll have to take, like the more frequency or no, the total number of months that you'll need to pay them will increase. At the same time, the less you pay them, because every month the bank is like, okay, let's see. You took 150,000 from me. Right now, you still owe me about 148,000. Okay. So that means I need to charge you 2% of 148,000. So now, make the payment. So you make a little bit of installment of the payment, right? Now, if you pay less, then every month your total will decrease a bit lesser. And because your total it decreased by a bit lesser, that means the amount that the bank is going to charge interest on is larger. So it'll take even more time to fulfill that, like, to completely pay off the complete loan. Regardless, 10 years, 1,700 per month. That means I have to pay them 204,000 for this loan I've taken. And the interest, therefore, would just be $54,000, which is crazy.
Yeah, so
Okay?
like I get that, but like how is that the interest? It's just like money you're paying and then
Yeah,
compares.
it's interest because the bank, like if the bank was, so I'm gonna say a funny thing, but if the bank was a Muslim bank, for instance, they would charge you only 150,000 because Muslim banks don't have interest at all. They don't do interest, right?
Yeah.
Because if you borrowed 150K, you pay them back 150K, right? Of course, that's a very perfect scenario. It never really happens. But if the bank says, "Hey, you owe me $100, so now for every month you don't give me back that $100, I'm gonna charge you 2% of what you owe me on top of what you owe me already." That's called interest. So I have to end up paying them more than what I actually took from them. That is called interest. That additional money I have to pay them is called interest. You see what I mean?
Yeah, so like but then like
Hmm.
but then you said that's not the interest. So the 1,700, that's not interest, that's just money you pay them.
Which one?
The 1,700. So also, yeah, why are you paying them more than the loan? Like why does it have
Yeah,
to be for 10
that's the
years?
interest. So like imagine this, right? So let's say you take $100 from the bank, okay? If you take $100 from the bank says you have to give me back. If you pay me back after a month, you have to give me $102 because I'm gonna charge you 2% interest every month. Okay. You're like, damn, I don't have $100. So the next month they're like, okay, now you owe me $102. Congratulations. Okay. What you do is you say, okay, listen, I can't pay you all of it all at once, but what I'll do is I'll pay you $10 a month and then you can charge me interest on whatever is left after those $10. You see what I mean? So I come to the bank on the 31st of the month and I tell them, hey, here's my $10 that I can pay you this month. How much do I have left now? They're like, oh, well, you normally have $90, but since I'm going to charge you 2% interest, you actually have this much. So the 2% of 90 plus 90 itself. So like 90 with 2% interest that I'm going to charge you because you're late. You see what I mean? Because I paid them $10 the first month. So
Hmm.
now, even though I paid them $10, they're going to charge me. So I still owe them about $92. So
Okay.
they increase the amount I owe them because of interest. So they keep increasing this every month that I tell them, oh, I don't have the full amount. Here's a little bit of it. Every time I don't pay the full thing, every time I don't pay the bank their 150K, they're like, okay, 2% more now. But I can pay 1700 a month. So by paying 1700 a month, I decrease the total amount I owe them, but they re-increase it a little bit to get interest. This is how banks function. I mean, they give you money, they ask you, they tell you, okay, you can pay me back in 10 years, but the longer you take to pay me back, I'm gonna keep adding a tiny percentage of the amount you owe me to the total money you owe me anyway. So that is called interest. So as you can see, the loan, I took 150K from them, but I because of how the system was set up, because of the contracts I signed with the numbers and the interest per month and everything, the bank explained everything to me. The bank told me, okay, I'll give you this percent interest every month. I had to actually end up paying $1,700 every month for 10 years in order to pay the whole thing back fully. And if I just sit down and calculate how much I ended up paying over the course of 10 years, it totals up to 204,000. So the pesky bank was increasing my money every month, like slowly, but it's been 10 years, so it actually increased overall by $54,000. I had to end up paying them $54,000 extra on top of the 150 I took because every month they increase the money I owe them by a little percentage, which is interest. That's the idea.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I get it.
All right, I hope it makes sense.
Yeah,
But regardless, the general idea is if you know how much you're paying every month and you know how long you're paying it for, you can find out how much you're going to be ending up paying in general, in total, at the end of the day. And once you
yeah.
know that, take a look at what you should have owed them, right? If this was not a capitalist world, and just find the difference between them, and that'll tell you how much interest you actually will end up paying overall. Of course, you won't pay this every month. You'll pay a part of this every month, and it'll total up to 54,000 in 10 years. Okay?
Like without you knowing they're actually putting interest on it.
No, no, they tell you they have to. That's legally required.
So like, isn't like this with this 1,700.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
me. That's me telling them I can only afford to give you $1,700 back every month. And they're like, okay, sure. If you do that, it'll take you 10 years to pay me back what you owe me and the interest that you're gonna owe me for 10 years.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So that's me choosing to pay this much. So like when you take a car out, for example, you have to do this. In the UK, I believe everybody does this. It's called you probably have heard the word finance. I'm gonna get a car on finance. It's like a slang almost for saying that I'm gonna take a loan from the bank. I'm gonna tell them I'll use the car for 10 years. I'll pay you back slowly, and you're gonna actually end up paying almost double the price of the car because of the interest, which is
Yeah.
pretty crazy. But of course, the other alternative is having straight cash, which is very difficult for everybody. So everybody takes loans, and interest is just um. So another interesting thing about interest is that if you miss a payment, right, then the next month you're going to be charged even more interest because the total is more. So the 2% becomes a larger amount. 2% of 100 is much less than 2% of 1,000. You see what I mean,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, now the question is, what's the annual interest rate? So, how much interest was I being charged every year if this is what I actually ended up paying? Okay.
Yeah. So for this one, like I would rather just use a calculator.
Yeah,
But then
but so
yeah.
whenever you see these questions, write down the things that you need in the calculator, right?
Mhm.
And you should know roughly what they mean. This is very easy, by the way, to like work on. So now, first of all, what is n? It's the number of months that you're, stuck in this deal for. PV is the present value. Okay. Now, it's very important that you start with. So, for example, if you say 150,000 here, you have to say minus 1,700 here. Okay. You need to tell the calculator that this is how much money I took, and this is how much I'm going to be paying off. So this is from the bank, and this is to the bank. So the direction matters. Okay. Don't make them the same sign. You can
So
either
this is
make,
yeah.
uh-huh.
This is the bit like that I don't really get, but I've just memorized it. Like you just
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You can just memorize it.
yeah.
So one has to be negative, the other is positive. Because one is an incoming thing, the other is an outgoing thing. Okay? So just think about it like that. They're not in the same direction. One you're getting money, the other you're giving money. This is the loan that you got. This is how much you're paying. So opposite signs. Okay? Doesn't matter which one's which, just opposite signs. The future value, of course, unless we expect that even after 120 months, I don't want to completely pay off the loan. I will say $0. Why? Because my present value is 150K. That's how much I owe the bank. At the end of the 120 months, I want to owe them zero. That's obviously what I want, right? By the way, this is payments per month. How much you're paying every, you know, every one of these time units. Uh, so now payments per year, of course, we're paying 12 times a year, right? And compounds per year. I believe there should be one because it says compounded monthly. Okay. So you're paying 12 times a year and you're also compounding 12 times. Well, you're not compounding, the bank is compounding 12 times a year. What does this mean, by the way? This means how many times does the bank sit down and look at your, the money you owe them and be like, okay, this is how much I'm charging you this time. They do it every month if it's compounded monthly, right? So this is your setup. And of course, the only thing remaining is the rate, which is to be left empty because the calculator is supposed to find that out for you. Okay. As long as you understand all of these things and what they are, these are pretty simple questions. Okay.
Yeah. Like I think so the only
hmm
thing I don't get, usually I do get it, but just in loan questions it's different, right? Because like usually the future value is just as in like what the present value is worth, in the future.
Um, no,
No.
so the present value is what you have right now. The future value is what you want to have or what you should have after this much time, right? So if the bank, I took 150,000 from the bank, I wouldn't want to owe them 150,000 after 120 months of me paying one $1,700, right? That would be pretty bad. But that
Oh,
is possible, you know. I recently read a person's story where they were paying the bank such a small amount that the interest kept undoing what they were paying and they ended up having the exact same amount owed after 10 years, right? So that's, yeah, it happens because people are bad at math. So you want the future value to be zero, and this is the setup that will tell you how the future value can be zero. Okay?
okay.
So future value is how much money you want to have after this time that you've specified, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that'll tell you the rate basically. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Perfect. Okay. After 5 years of paying this debt, Daisy decides to pay the remainder in one final payment. So what she did was, because she's indecisive, I think, or maybe just very rich, after 5 years, she was like, okay, you know what? I don't want to pay the bank any more interest. I'm just gonna go in, ask them how much I owe them, and give them all of it in cash. Call it a day, right? The question is, how much, what's the amount of Daisy's final payment? So like, that one-time amount that she's gonna pay. Well, we need to know how much she has left of her debt after 5 years first, right?
Mhm.
Right? Because after 5 years, how much money does she have left? So the N is 120. The present value is minus 150K. That's how much she started with, of course. The payments per month is 1700. The future value is the thing we do not know. Oh, sorry. N is not 120 anymore because we're talking about 5 years, right?
Yeah, so
Because now
60.
we're saying, yeah, exactly. The payments per year, same thing. Compounding per year, same thing. And the rate will be whatever we found earlier. Okay. And this will tell you if I keep doing this setup, if I keep paying the bank $1,700 on a 150K loan for 60 months at this rate, what money will I have left to pay them after those 60 months, 5 years? So that's the amount that she will have to pay upfront then. Got it?
Okay, so this is the amount like left, like how much is worth.
Exactly. After 5 years of going through the struggle of paying this per month, how much will she have to pay overall to close the book after 5 years? Like at that point when 5 years have passed.
Okay.
So can you find out what that actually, what is it? Let me check. It's
Um,
800, no,
yeah,
86,973. So this turns out to be $86,973. Okay. Now here's the fun part.
973. Oh, is it? I got 86. Wait, 86.973.
86.973.
I got 86, 86988. So
988. Maybe you put the interest rate differently. What's your interest rate?
6.46.
Huh, odd.
Um,
So 60 minus 150K, 1700, 1212, 6.46, right?
4 times 5, yeah, 15.
Weird.
Let me see if I change. I put it at the
I
end
mean,
of.
it's not a big deal, but I'm just wondering why, because the numbers are the same. Maybe the mark scheme is off, I guess, possible. Anyways, if you write this stuff down, you're gonna get the accuracy points anyway, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So 86973, whatever. Now, this is how much money she'll have to pay after 5 years of struggling through $1,700 every month for 5 years. So for 5 years, she pays this much, and then after that, she walks in the bank and then pays this much upfront. So this is how much total she will have to end up paying if she goes down this route. So can you find out what this total is? It totals to by the way, this is the end of the previous part. We're done with the
Yeah.
E, we're done. So now we're looking at F. F says how much money did she save by making this final payment, by doing this new plan that she came up with.
Why are we
So
adding them together?
because look, for 5 years, she had to still pay that 1700 per month, right? So 1700 per month for 5 years. That's how much money she'll have to pay anyway for 5 years. Because that was her plan, right? And then after 5 years, she'll just make this
Uh,
one complete payment. This is
uh,
how much money, yeah. It ends up being 188,973. So if she goes down this route where she pays everything up front, by the way, any questions?
no, that's good.
Okay, okay, good. So this is how much money she would have to pay if she does the 5 years thing and then upfront. And what did we calculate? She would have to pay if she goes down the route where she, just struggles through 10 years of paying 1700 every month. She'll have to pay this much. So how much money is she saving? Just subtract them and get the answer. That is $15,000. 15,027, I guess.
Oh, okay. So that'd be.
Yeah. So remember, whenever you know the payments per month and you know the number of months, you can find out how much you have to pay. No calculations required. Just multiply the number of months with the payments per month. That's what we keep doing. See, right here, payments per month times the number of months. And oops, and same here. See, they asked us how much will I pay if I'm paying this much every month for 10 years. It's almost an elementary question, right? Because they tell you, oh, if someone pays $1,700 every month for 10 years, how much is it? That's it. That's the answer. So don't get thrown off by the fact that the question is financial. Sometimes the answers are super easy. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I think yeah, that's all the time we have today. But do you have any more classes booked? By the way, I just remembered. So you're AISL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just check and make sure that what I'm about to say is true. Uh, did you find another tutor, by the way? Like, are you doing okay?
No. I mean, as in,
Oh,
like, I didn't find other tutors and I didn't really need one. So
ah,
that's,
okay, perfect. So I
yeah.
oh wait, let me